I am disappointed, and there could be a number of things happen without them. I think I tried to make the point a number of ways and a number of times that perhaps as many as 10 million chickens are on their way to Idaho. If they get here in 6 months or a year or 18 months, I'm not sure, but they're coming. And Idaho really right now has no ability to regulate those on a statewide basis. And that's not only is that disappointing, it's tragic, because what will happen then is that counties will begin, as they come without this law, counties will begin to establish their own ordinances, as Cassia County did. And that's simply a repeat of the errors that we made with dairy cows 20 years ago. And that's exactly what we did. We failed to offer some regulations, and so counties began to enact their own ordinances, and then we had a patchwork quilt of ordinances, and some weren't sufficient enough to protect the resources. So we're reaping the benefits right now in some of those counties of not being prepared for those dairies, and we're still 20 years down the road, we're still paying for that. We simply didn't want to repeat those errors. There was no reason for history to repeat itself when we know the outcome. So that one is disappointing for that reason.
And going off of that, what are some of those problems that result from having county level regulations rather than statewide regulations?
Well, what you end up then is counties. There's always a struggle between the county's ability to cite their authority to cite operations and to cite CAFOs and AFOs where they exist in the county. That's their authority, no question. The state's authority is water quality, and so where those two blur, where those two lines blur, those two authorities blur, that's where the conflict occurs. So then you end up with, for example, a county that doesn't want, that thinks it has enough cows, that its waters are, maybe the drinking water nitrates are coming up, and they believe that may be the result of AFOs. And so they're not able to make a decision based on water quality, because citing is their authority, not water quality. So what they do is from the back door enact more ordinances that, for example, they might say, okay, we're only going to allow AFO owners to apply waste to their own ground. They must own it. And it must be within the county. If you don't have enough land in the county, then we're going to limit the number of cows you put in this county, because you have to be able to take the number of acres you own and divide it by a X number, and that's how many cows you can have. Well, that's backdoor regulating, and those are the kind of things that we've ended up with dairies that we find ourselves in the middle of. There was a lawsuit the decision was handed down a month and a half ago, that very thing. Most counties struggle with that as well. They know they don't have the resources, and so they have to try to come to the state to ask the Department of Ag to help them make a determination of whether that citing is appropriate. Well, if their Department of Ag is going to be responsible for providing that information, then maybe a statewide law would have made that whole process easier, so that easier for the counties, easier for the state, protect the resources, and we'd just be using science rather than some emotion, because no matter what we do in counties, there are going to be people that are very upset about these things. So if you can take one step back, if the regulator takes one step back, then the regulator's looking at the overall picture and using science to make decisions, rather than being in the middle of a public meeting where neighbor to neighbor are trying to regulate each other.